This is the first part of the audio that will accompany the Operant Basics Instructor PowerPoint. What you should do is find that PowerPoint in Blackboard and open it and start it. Pause the audio recording while you do so. If the PowerPoint is open, you should see the first slide, which says From Elicited to Emitted Behavior. We are going to be changing our perspective. In the first unit, we talked entirely about behaviors that were caused by an event in the environment. So the salivation was caused by meat, or the change in heart rate was caused by a tone that had been paired with shock. We are now going to look at behaviors that don't have an eliciting stimulus, something that simply occurs. Next slide. When you are dealing with elicited behaviors, the cause of the behavior is very clear. The stimulus makes the response occur. The origin of salivation in Pavlov's experiment was absolutely clear. The origin of anxiety in a human who has a learned fear response to social settings is absolutely clear. However, there is a whole other class of behaviors that are emitted. They simply occur independent of any clear eliciting stimulus. Now, when you say they occur independent of an eliciting stimulus, that might seem to imply that they're unpredictable, impossible to understand or predict. That is not true. Emitted behavior is not random. It is clearly not free of environmental influence. Next slide. To help you understand that, I'm going to introduce something I call the response generation model. The response generation model is idiosyncratic with me. It's a way for me to try to help you understand this idea of behavior coming out of an individual. So don't look for it elsewhere. It is unique with my approach. But here's what I want you to think about to understand it. Imagine a living animal, any living animal. What must the animal do in order to survive? So pause the audio for a moment and look at the screen and think about specific things an animal must do to survive. Good. I hope you came up with a series of particular things. For example, move around in the environment to find food, move around in the environment to find water, move around in the environment to avoid predators, seek mates, whatever. But the idea is animals engage in actions, and not all of those actions are caused by something. Sometimes the animal simply acts. And that is essential, because to be completely inactive, to do nothing, I would suggest, is a direct cause of death. If you don't move around in the environment to find food, you starve. If you don't move around to find water, you die of thirst, etc. Now, when we add complexity to that animal, such as the complexity in human behavior, you can imagine we do lots of things. So what I want you to do is take a moment, and if there's another human being in sight, simply watch the person for a moment. Look for discrete actions, identifiable, specific behaviors, and note to yourself what you're seeing, how many different actions. So pause the audio and watch a human. Okay, so you're back from watching the human. Let's go to the next slide. You saw lots of behaviors, I'm sure. So here's what I want you to imagine. Inside that person, or inside any behaving animal, there is a process which I will call the response generator, which simply spins off or causes actions. Every moment, some behavior will occur. What behavior will occur? If I have no idea what controlling processes are at play, I have no way of knowing what behavior will occur. In that sense, behavior does appear to be random. However, we know there are controlling processes. We even have a good idea what they are, and that's what we're going to continue talking about. What controls which response gets generated or comes out of an individual? So, let's look at this little illustration. So the response generator might produce smiling, it might produce walking, it might produce crying. You can see that in the upper left here. The probability of these obviously could change if an eliciting event were present. So if I present a really sad movie clip, Old Yeller dies, or Sam and Frodo are trying to survive in the Lord of the Rings, anything that elicits a sad affective state might cause crying. Conversely, if your love of your life asks you to get married, that might elicit smiling. Warm chocolate chip cookies might elicit smiling. But there are also many other behaviors for which there is no clear eliciting event. So let's imagine we simply watched an individual behave, and we see that there's a whole range of behaviors. We're going to arrange those behaviors in what Thorndike called a habit family hierarchy. So let's consider how we would do that. This illustration is a very simple habit family hierarchy, and to let you think about it in simple terms, I've made it graphic. The size of the arrow reflects the chances that the behavior will occur, or its habit strength. So you can see that for this individual, this response generator is quite likely to cause the person to walk around. A little less likely to cause the person to smile, and not very likely to cause the person to cry. This is indicated in just the size or the weight of the arrows. Now, this is a momentary observation, so this is the chance of seeing those behaviors at this time. Here's what I want to emphasize. The habit family hierarchy, or the strength or probability of these three behaviors, is not fixed. Those behaviors would adapt or change in response to experience. The experience we're most interested in are the consequences of the behavior. So what happens to the probability of smiling, the chances the response generator will make you smile, depends upon the consequence of smiling, or what follows it. You can see in this case, the individual, the response generator, has moved to an environment in which people follow, or people respond to a smile with another smile, a warm smile. What happens? The response generator begins to generate smiles more often. The consequence of smiling, a warm reciprocal smile, increases the chances of smiling. Now, I want to emphasize again, this idea of response generator is a tool for thinking about behavior. It is not real. There is no structure in the brain doing this in the way I'm describing it, at least no structure that I can identify. So I want you to understand, it is a conceptual tool, not an actual structure.